Hi there, this is Matteo. I am author of BED. BED is for Business Aware Design. So it's going to help you design with a business approach in mind. So basically, whenever you have a project about a product or a new service, BED can help you to link the three main areas that are user analysis, competitor analysis, and business model analysis. So let's see how to use BED for your projects. BED is super easy to use. In the pack, you're going to find a deck of cards that you can attach on the wall, as I did with adhesive putty or with tape, or you can spread on tables on the floor and then use it with post-its. Okay, so they're like boxes to be filled. And you're going to find a manual that is going to help you to use BED at its best. So let's see how it works. Basically, these are different areas of the methodology. The white cards, they are the design process, so they're like the spine of all the process. And we're going to see there is a project name, key users, problems and needs. So what are the problems and needs that we're going to solve with our product or service, and then solutions and features, the requirements, unique value proposition of the project, competitive strategy, business goal and KPI, so what do we want to achieve actually, and then users and business pain points. Below these cards, you're gonna attach post-its with any kind of pain points that are addressed by stakeholders or users during a user testing. And basically what you're gonna do, you're gonna solve those pain points and then you're gonna get rid of the post-its. Each one of these lines can be a project. So now I was analyzing Fabula. Fabula is our tool for writers and screenwriters. But then if I'm gonna work on the video course for Fabula, I can place another post-it here and use another line of post-its to work on that other project and see where there are some elements that overlap or anything that can be very helpful for me. And I can do the same for even for a company. So if I want to analyze also Sefirot as a company, I can do that exactly below the white cards. Then, whenever I feel or you feel as a designer or as a manager, as an entrepreneur, that there is something missing, okay, in this synthesis below these cards. For instance, we realize that the key users, problems and needs, they're a little bit foggy, okay? And a not very aware designer will design anyway. And that sometimes happens when you don't have time or you don't have budget. But if you really want to design properly, then you should go to the related areas. So below, inside, actually in the bottom part of each one of these cards, there are like the areas that are connected. So you can go to user analysis, for instance, and then we are going to analyze each user type. Okay. Each line represents a user type. So we're going to have writers, screenwriters, we can have comic book writers, filmmakers, and we can analyze their demographics, their habits, and their problems and needs. Once we do a synthesis, we can place the synthesis here. So it's like going with a magnifier. Okay? If we have any troubles, any issues below these cards, we can just go in the areas. And then we have the advanced cards for user analysis. So this is a user journey. For each user type, you can navigate the user journey. So the acquisition awareness, the moment in which the user is going to approach your product, then the comparison. Usually they have to decide if choose your product or your service or another one. And then there is the purchase or the experience of the product, the retention, the advocacy. You can add some steps here according to your project, and you can use these cards to understand better your users and how they interact with your product. Then let's say that you have a problem or an issue with the unique value proposition. This is very common. So for instance, it's super common to have Sunday words here. So sentences that actually don't mean anything, and maybe they are like nice as a sound, but they don't mean anything. Like Fabula is the best tool for writers. Okay, doesn't mean anything, and it's not going to help me. So we can go to the competitor analysis. Again, each line is a competitor that we are analyzing. For instance, manuals and courses, those are competitors of a tool for writers. Then what are their strengths, their weaknesses, what are the competing values? So what values they have the most, okay, and they are competing in the market. And then our opportunities, for instance, for Fabula, to be more practical than a manual and to be faster to be used than a course. So we can synthesize that and we can have a unique value proposition that actually means something. So writing your stories has never been easier. Then we know that in requirements, we need to be sure that it's super easy to use Fabula. We can translate it with something practical. So a user need maximum 15 minutes to be aware of how to use Fabula. So we have to work as designers in developing a product that can be so easy. Okay. Then we also can work on the competitive strategy because of the competitor analysis. So in this case, this is not a low cost. So we're not competing with the price, but we're competing because we have a product that is very different. So it's a differentiation. Then we have the business model analysis cards. So with these cards, we're going to analyze the business models that we want to use. So it's very crucial, this card, because it's a business goal and KPI, so key performance indicator. We need to know what is your business goal. So what do we want to achieve? We want to sell, let's say, 10,000 Fabula next year. That's something. But it's completely different if we want to sell Fabula to a publishing house. So it's going to be a completely different project and a different approach. So let's say we want to sell independently this product. Then we can analyze different business models that we can use. Again, each line is a business model. So we're going to use e-commerce and mail marketing. And you're going to find in the manual a lot of business models that you can apply to your project. So we're going to analyze it with this little framework. So what is given? Fabula. Who it's given to the users, the customers. How it's given through a website that it's our own website. And why you get value. So why do we capture value? Because we're going to have money from the transaction. So a business model, it's super important because it's the way you capture value with your project, with your business. Then we're going to have a business model evaluation, so the advanced cards, where we're going to be forced to imagine in a really practical way the business model applied to our project. So what do we need to deploy this business model? What are the costs? And what are the key metrics? So for an e-commerce, two key metrics are the CPA, the cost per acquisition, and the average cart value. So how much we are going to spend for a customer and how much that customer is going to pay as an average. Those are the two metrics that we have to check when we are going to make some tests, because according to those metrics, the business model is going to be successful or not. So here we have a valuability check. Below this card, we are going to place a post-it in case we checked that the business model is possible. So we're going to use Excel. So yeah, I know it can be pretty boring, but it's super important. In the manual, we're going to show you different ways to use Excel to validate a business model. and it's the best way to be sure that your project can have a successful possibility. Okay, so it can be very successful. So once you have done all the canvas, you're gonna have an holistic approach, okay, on your wall. So in case we decide to change the e-commerce business model, for instance, we're gonna change a lot of other variables around here. So let's say we don't want to sell online anymore, but we want to focus more on selling on bookshelves. Okay, in that case, the requirement may be very different, because for the e-commerce we're going to use a product, we're going to design a product that is very compact, so we can pay less in shipping, okay, of course. But in case we want to sell offline, then we can imagine to make the product bigger, to be more visible on shelves. So the whole project can change, and that's super important, because this is how you design in a very aware way. So once you have all your project on the wall, maybe even it's a company and the company is successful, then you want to know the next steps. So one of the most common problem that teams have in startups, but also in companies, is that they don't know how to prioritize the next actions. So they don't know what to do next. Then we come to the black cards. So these are the very advanced cards, and therefore iterations. So these are perfect for workshops. This is a very small canvas with a grid canvas. So we are gonna have some iteration hypothesis in the case of a worst case scenario. So let's say there is no paper anymore. Fabula is an analog tool made of paper. So let's say there is a paper shortage in the world. Okay, then we can make the mirror version. So make a digital Fabula. What if we want to do a product innovation? What if we want to do a process innovation? So let's say we want to pay less in shipping because we're going to have different warehouses around the world. Okay, that's a process innovation. What if we want to have a business model enhancement? So we keep the e-commerce business model, but we enhance it somehow. And what if we want a business model innovation? When we want a business model innovation, we're going to change two of those variables, and then you have an innovation. And statistically is the most impactful way of doing something. So if you don't know what to do next, usually, according to statistics, the business model innovation is the way to go. But we don't like just statistics, so we calculate a value index for any of those hypotheses. So value index is benefit and costs, okay? So we're gonna do for the worst case scenario, for the product innovation and so on. The to-do list, so what do we need to try to actually deploy this new iteration, and the management. So who's gonna work on that? Who's gonna be in charge of that? That's a really crucial point again, because usually after meetings, a lot of people have an idea of what to do, but then they don't have a schedule, they don't have a clear management. So this is what can change completely your strategy. Okay, in a strategy, you know that you have something to be done and somebody that is going to take care of it. Then once you have all these, you can design in a much more aware way, and can assure you your project will have much more chances to be successful.